Jai Radhe. What happened to Balakrishna Prabhu's name is Bhaktavatsal now?
Krishna wrote me that he has some engagements from his work, so maybe later he'll join.
Okay.
Bhaktavatsal is online.
I don't know who is Bhaktavatsal.
Yeah, the gentleman who was sitting here yesterday. And his wife, Jared.
Okay, so okay, now I got it. Share the screen.
That's what we did last time. We just sent us full screen.
Okay, we can start now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Hare Hare.
Devotees, dear devotees, can you hear me? Am I clearly audible?
Yes, Dandavat Prabhu, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to the second session of Nectar of Instruction. So, yesterday we discussed about the 6 urges, which are hindrances in the practice of Krishna consciousness. So, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing, in one of his songs, he says, Chaya Begadami, Chaya Dosha Swadhi, Chaya Gunadeho Dase, Chaya Satasanga Dehohe Amai, Basechi Sangero Ase. This is a Bengali poem written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He is referring to these verses in Nectar of Instruction. Says Chaya Begadami. She is praying to the mercy of a Vaishnava, by which he will be successfully able to control the urges, the 6 urges. And then Chaya Dosha Swadhi. There are 6 kinds of faults that destroy our bhakti. So by the mercy of a Vaishnava, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we can become free from those faults. So now today we're going to discuss about these 6 faults that destroy our devotional service. So yesterday we gave an overview of Purusamrita, then described the importance of Srila Rupa Goswami in the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has appeared to establish the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on this earth. He is Rupa Manjari. And we discussed we are Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami. Then purpose of Purusamrita, also how the attitude help. Different attitudes are there, then this attitude to improve in our Krishna consciousness. What kind of attitude helps one to progress in Krishna consciousness? And there are some negative attitudes which is contrary to Krishna consciousness. So that also we discussed. And then appropriate means of controlling the 6 urges we have discussed in text number 1. So now today we're going to discuss text number 2, which is dealing with the 6 kinds of faults that destroy bhakti. So second verse is also one of the memorization verses. Atyaharaha prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha laulyancha sarvir bhaktir vinasyati. So there are 6 activities which hinders devotional practice. What are those 6 activities? Atyahara. Ati ahara. Ahara means eating. Ahar. Sanskrit word. Eating. And ati. Ati is a prefix, upasarga, added to it. Then the meaning is changed. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Even Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, those who even write some literatures which are not supporting devotional service, and that is also atyahar. Means sometimes we have seen normally jnanis, they read volumes of literatures. That is not helping him to progress in devotional service. That is also a type of atyahara, according to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In his Anubhritti Bhashya, he comments like that. So anyway, the more common meaning we have seen in this context is eating more than necessary and accepting material things more than required. Okay, so we'll discuss that afterwards. Then atyahara prayasascha. Prayasa means over endeavoring for mundane things that are difficult to obtain, or even we can say those mundane objects which are contrary to devotional principles. So when somebody is over endeavoring for those objects, that is taken under prayasa. And then prajalpa, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Niyamagraha, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scripture and working independently or whimsically. We'll discuss all these things. Then fifth one is Janasanga, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness and laulyam, means being greedy for mundane achievements. So, in the beginning, Sri Radharaman Das Goswami, he speaks about how does one become affected by these diseases. These are actually diseases. The 6 types of disease. So he's saying in the beginning stage of the practice of bhakti, the material proclivity is prominent in the hearts of the sadhakas. This can be experienced by ourselves. We are sadhaka, and these material proclivities are prominent in our heart, right? Therefore, they are unable to subdue the 6 overwhelming passions described in the first verse. As long as we have got affinity for material objects, we will not be able to successful in controlling the 6 urges that are discussed in the first verse. When the 6 urges are not controlled, they lead to develop these kind of diseases, which are harmful for the development of Krishna consciousness. That is 6 faults. That means we can see this is a very sequentially Srila Rupa Goswami is discussing that when a sadhaka is not successful in controlling the 6 urges, then the next thing he can expect is he will be affected by these 6 faults. The 6 kind of activity is going to take over him. So, in this verse, in second verse, those injurious tendencies are being described for the benefit of the sadhaka. Okay. So now we're going to discuss one after another tendencies, faults. Sorry, this one is. Okay. Atyahara and prayasa. So here atyahara means to eat more than required or to accumulate material objects. And prayas also to endeavor for worldly objects. So now the question can be asked, is it that we should not accumulate material objects, we don't endeavor for worldly objects? What do you think, Sadhu? Jimmy?
I was just thinking of, I take too much halwa.
Huh.
And also, like sometimes I still have like a tendency to want to just get knowledge, just to know more things. As the Guru was pointing out, they said, yes, it's a very gyanic thing. Too much mental pleasure, just from knowing all this knowledge. Over accumulating like that. And I was also mundane achievements, over accumulate more than we want.
For example, we need to maintain this body, right? When we want to maintain this body, we need some objects to maintain the body. So, what do you think about that? Should we endeavor for the worldly objects for our maintenance, or we just?
No, actually, because people must have caught up and they try so hard. So I heard for us the way to avoid bias, if we whatever comes to us easily.
Yeah, Bhaktavatsal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I think we can accumulate according to our ashram. Like, for example, brahmacharis, their need is little, and like grastas, Prabhuji, they can accumulate because, for example, if sannyasis or brahmacharis, they come to their place, so how will they give charity or how will they serve them if they don't accumulate? So little, not that we go crazy for that, but little bit is okay. That's why I said according to ashram, maybe we can we can decide under the guidance of senior devotees and spiritual master that okay, this much can we can.
You are right. Grihasthas are allowed to accumulate. Their very ashrama is meant for giving shelter. You have family, your wife, children are there. So if you don't have savings, how can you protect them? And as also you mentioned properly, it is the duty of the grihasthas to protect the brahmachari, sannyasis, the ancients. So you have to support them. That means you need to have something under your accumulation. So in that way, grihasthas are allowed. But those who are in the renounced order of life, they should not accumulate things more than required. You said, Prabhu, Jimmy said that you know what is your quota, you accept that. You just leave rest, knowing well that it belongs to somebody else. Because in this Prakriti, material nature, there are ample of material objects available for all the living entities for the cultivation of their Krishna consciousness. So even for the grihasthas also, when they are allowed to accumulate or endeavor for worldly objects, that should not be done to such an extent that it will hinder their bhakti. For example, in this part of the world, we can take a very prominent example. Sometimes grihasthas, they try to accumulate not only for securing their life, they are thinking to secure his life, his son's life, his grandson's life, his great-grandson's life. For next 14 generations, you want to secure them. And what happens? As a result, he ends up having no time to chant his rounds even. So that is not required. I don't know, anyone have read Prabhupada's purport, what Prabhupada is saying about accumulating a grihastha who accumulated wealth more than required, then what happened to him? Did you read Prabhupada's purport?
Prabhuji, you're asking me, Prabhuji?
I am asking everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yes? No? What were you doing today, since morning? Spacing out, right? That's what I could see. In this temple, you don't have much service. You should go to India, temple. I'm talking to Jimmy. You should go to India, stay in a temple, then you will know what is brahmachari life. You have whole time reserved for you, and you didn't even study one verse whole day. How are you going to grow in Krishna consciousness? This is not a conducive life. Yes, Bhavatos Prabhu.
For us, actually, as we are family people, Garhastha, we have job, just finished like 1 minute before start this course. I finished my job in the morning. So our time is tight, but we try to make the time somehow. So if you ask whole day, actually whole day was in the job.
No, no,
So
no.
that happens
I
with
was talking to
me.
Jimmy.
I don't know.
I was
Okay.
talking to Jimmy. Okay.
Okay.
So Prabhupada, he has given this example. There was a Grahastha man who was having a lot of wealth, and he went on earning the wealth to secure his son's life and his grandson's life. Then what happened?
He born as a cobbler, and then they went and they beat him.
So he doesn't know that what is going to happen to him in future. Still, in blindness, he keeps on accumulating wealth, thinking I am doing good to others. What is going to happen to you next life? You are being beaten by the shoes. You have constructed such a big house. They're enjoying your hard-earned money. Now you are born as a cobbler, poor man, and you are going to beg from their house. They don't know that you have actually given them this opportunity to enjoy this opulent life. Now what they are doing? They're beating you with the shoes. So who is the foolish man, after understanding these principles, will accumulate more than what is necessary just to keep this body and soul together, so that they can practice Krishna consciousness and go back to God. Therefore, even this Atyahara principle should be studied carefully, even by the Grahasthas, who are supposed to accumulate things, who are allowed to possess or endeavor for worldly objects. This should not be done at the cost of bhakti. Okay. So, Prabhupada writes in the purport, in the beginning, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. He continues, in the material world, one has to work for the maintenance of the body and soul. But how can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness? This is a question. How can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for execution of Krishna consciousness? I mean to say, whether he is a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi, as long as one continues to exist in this material body, he has to provide material enjoyment for this body. Without supplying enjoyment to the body, body cannot survive. When you are eating, eating is also a mode of supplying bhoga to this body. That has got nothing to do with soul actually. Soul doesn't require this food. So to sustain in this body, we have to accept some material object, okay, some bhoga. So now the point is, what is the principle? What should be the mentality in providing this kind of enjoyment to this material body? One should have. If one has a proper mood, then he will be able to practice Krishna consciousness. So, when we are providing bhoga to this material body, what should be the underlying principle? Bhaktavasal Puno.
Prabhuji, whatever is favorable, we should accept.
Okay. Like whatever is favorable, what is the limit for this favorable thing? Means what? For example, we are eating, okay? You are taking Krishna Prasadam. Let us take this as
yes,
an
Prabhuji.
example. So how much I should eat? Why I should eat? Okay, you eat the belly, right? You eat to fill your belly. Now the question is, why you want to eat? You fill the belly? Why you want to fill the belly?
To serve.
To
serve, Prabhuji. Serve.
Okay. Actually, the principle here is everybody is eating because they want to survive, live in this body. If you don't provide food to your body, this body cannot survive. Right? Now, then the next question comes, why you want to survive in this body? Why? Why are you eating and why are you surviving in this body? Jivasya tattva jigyasa. You want to live in this body because you want to cultivate Krishna consciousness. People are engaged in different kind of occupational activities, and some say the goal of this occupational activity is to earn enjoyment. But that is not the goal of life. Or the material objects should not be utilized for sense gratification. They should be utilized for cultivating dharma, Krishna consciousness. So that's how here we say that ahar or food to be accepted in a way that we understand I want to survive in this body to cultivate Krishna consciousness. That's why I am eating. Otherwise, it will come in the category of atyahara. Dr. Vasal Prabhu, you raised your hand, then disappeared. What happened?
No, Prabhuji, I was just lowering it down.
Okay. Okay, so here, Prabhupada is writing, fortunately, man has been given higher intelligence for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness or the understanding of God, one's relationship with God, with Him, and the ultimate goal of life, love of God. Unfortunately, so-called civilized men not caring for God realization utilizes his intelligence for getting more than necessary and simply eating to satisfy the tongue. So that means the goal of life is to cultivate Krishna consciousness. We are not supposed to just eat to live in this body happily to satisfy our tongue. No. Therefore, he is quoting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharmasya yapavargasya narthartha apakalpate narthasya dharmaikantasya kamalavaya ismita. So in that way, our activities should be designed or should be aimed at cultivating Krishna consciousness, not for getting money and that money for using for sense gratification. So this is how Prayasa principle and Atyahara principle have been discussed. So avoiding Atyahara and Prayasa. Srila Prabhupada writes, if you go to page number 20 in your book, we want somebody to read. From the book, page number 20, religion entails understanding the laws of God.
The proper execution of these laws ultimately leads one out of material entanglement. That is the true purpose of religion. Unfortunately, people accept religion for material prosperity because or an excessive desire for such prosperity. True religion, however, instructs people to be satisfied with the bare necessities of life while cultivating Krishna consciousness. Even though we require economic development, true religion allows it only for supplying the bare necessities of material existence. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. The real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. For never prayasa is not to inquire about the absolute truth. We will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritual aspirant should avoid mundane endeavor. Another impediment is prajalpa.
No. Done. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. The real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. If one endeavor, prayasa, is not inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. So what did you learn in this connection, Jimmy?
I was thinking, the real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. I was just thinking that I've been spacing out a little bit, and near this temple, not to be on an eating sleeping program, but actually study Prabhupada's books, perform some serious and regulated sadhana bhakti, really get on my case.
Have you understood the good fortune?
The good fortune.
You have already got?
I think I probably don't understand it as much as I should.
That's why you are spacing out since morning and you are not paying attention to study.
Yes.
This is such an opulent city, such an opulent place you have got to stay, and you don't have to struggle for your food, right?
Yes.
If you are staying outside, to fill your belly, you have to go and work very hard.
Yes.
Have you realized this?
I did not realize this.
So what are you going to do next?
I think that I'm going to study.
What is your service in this temple?
Harinam Sankirtan.
Only Harinam Sankirtan.
And then also
Every day, how many hours do you do physical service?
physical fitness. I think
1 hour.
5 hours. 5 hours. Is that counts as physical fitness? Okay. 5 hours.
No, you should do some more physical service here also. Going to the street, dancing and chanting is fine. How many hours do you spend in reading Prabhupada's books? 2 hours every day? Oh, good.
I've been systematic. I haven't been doing systematic reading. I've been reading, but not systematically.
Okay. So you got something for now? You know what to do?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. So this is how we can avoid this atyahara and prayasa. If you understand this, that this life is meant for realizing Krishna, then anything you do, you will not waste your time and energy. You will be only doing everything to intensify your Krishna consciousness. That's how the Shukta Vairagya principle explains that whatever we accept in relation to Krishna. You are taking To survive in this body, what you are eating Krishna Prasadam, because it is first of all offered to Krishna. Sometimes you go outside, you eat in the outside restaurant? Not at all? Never, huh? That's a good thing you have been following. That's nice. Because you like temple prasadam, that's why you are doing that? Huh? Okay, whatever it may be. That's good then. Okay, so this is how you can avoid your atyahar. Okay, then atyahara prayasa prajalpa. Prajalpa means to uselessly criticize and gossip about others. How are people in the world involved in prajalpa?
They are writing lots of philosophy.
Okay. And
newspapers,
reading newspapers?
wondering like novels and literature. And politics.
Watching cinema, TV?
Yes.
And going for fishing, Prabhupada is saying, right?
Playing chess. When we go to the park, Washington Square Park, when we go to set up the Harinam, there are tables of chess tables. You'll always see the people playing chess. And then there's no people, then they'll call out to you and say, hey, you want to play chess?
These are all coming in the category of prajalpa.
Yeah.
Just misuse of our time.
Yes.
Do you think sometimes devotees also get involved in prajalpa? No?
Yeah.
Never? Tulsi Prabhu is saying never.
Yeah.
Like how?
Like devotees, they like to talk very much during their japa period.
Japa period. Bhakta Vatsal Prabhu?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, yes, devotees also, they like to do all this. Especially Prabhuji, if a brahmachari due to whatever reason changes, then the whole country is talking about him. So, so I mean, they just interfere in other devotees' life without knowing what must have happened.
Okay. And sometimes do you spend, as devotee, do you spend unnecessary time in talking to our friends about things which are not related to Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, Prabhuji, many times.
Sometimes in our friend circle also, we just come and sit down and chit chat. What is going on? It's not Krishna conscious talk, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
But do you think sometimes devotees are also in themselves are involved in prajalpa? Yes, Tulsi Prabhu.
Like for example, sometimes devotees they very much like to surf the internet, just YouTube or Facebook. Or sometimes it may go like 1 hour just reading.
This is prajalpa. This is a very big problem for us actually. Many times, even brahmacharis also, they get entrapped with this mobile phone. If somebody is spending too much time in this mobile phone activities, going to YouTube channel and other things, that is a sign of prajalpa. Jimmy, you have phone? Do you sometimes spend some time?
Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore, but sometimes, right? So that means you are doing prajalpa. Sometimes just talking mundane things means prajalpa. If you don't have anybody to talk to, but you are still spending time with your mobile, means that is also prajalpa. We don't realize this. This is misuse of our time. That time we could use in Krishna consciousness. So this is how we are involved in Prajalpa. If we know what is the disease, then we can find out solution. Many of us, we don't know that surfing internet is Prajalpa. But that is actually Prajalpa. Okay? Yes, Tulsi Prabhu.
Yes, like from one side we said that we have to maintain the body, and part of maintaining the body means we have to do some physical exercises. At the same time, in few places we reach over one is saying that sports, especially these freelance sports, he's kind of considering them Maya. So where is the balance? To some physical exercise to maintain your body, at the same time not to go into the realm of Maya or Prajapa.
There are a few different ways you can look at it. Those who are healthy, they can just simply go to temple and participate in the temple program. For example, morning time, evening time, if they just take part in dancing before the Lord, that itself acts as a pranayam and exercise also. And then a few hours a day, if they are working, doing some physical work, that also becomes an exercise. Okay, they have to walk, they have to lift some items, clean the godown, clean the temple, or go to market to purchase something, go and work in the flower garden, something like that. So these are some physical activities. They're going to keep their body healthy. On the other hand, there are some other devotees who are not actually doing so much physical activities, because those who are in management position, they have to most of the time sit in the office and work with computer. And it's happening nowadays also. For them, they can specify a particular time in a day. Okay, for half an hour time, I am going to do certain asanas. Okay, yeah, pranayam. Why? Because I need to keep this body fit in Krishna service. Not that he is spending hours together sitting there in asana and doing pranayam, and then having a healthy body for sense gratification. No. Then, if he is just simply spending little amount of time, what is required to keep the body fit, to cultivate Krishna consciousness, that is allowed. That's okay. Even Prabhupada has said that. Nowadays, also many devotees in many places I have seen, they recommend that. Even some of our gurus also, they tell that, no, if it is required, you can practice some yoga asanas, no problem. That is not contrary to Krishna consciousness in that way. Niyamagraha.
Prabhuji, Prabhuji, can I ask one question? Prabhuji,
Yeah.
like when two devotees are good friends and sometimes they joke with each other like this, I'm sure you must have heard that. Prabhu, you are very great. Prabhu, you are this. Dandvat Pranam. This. So, Prabhuji, this comes in like Prajalpa or like when they are joking? How would you explain this?
You see, these kind of things should be taken like a salt, I would say, not too much. What is happening, you see, we are not on a very highly elevated platform. We are not on the level of prema or bhava. The 24 hours a day, we will be engaged. But at the same time, such kind of jokes and should not be done in such a way that it has become the center part of our life. The whole life is being evolved with these jokes and all. Okay, sometimes to become jolly, happy, say something, but you don't feel like, oh, that should be always done between the devotees, because that is our life. That is how you become happy. That is how you can sustain your life. That should not be the way of thinking. Then okay. Otherwise, like I have seen some people, like whatever they do, they always into that kind of mood of joking, playing. That is their life. No, that is not correct. That's why I gave the example of okay, sometimes it's okay. We don't mind.
Okay, brother.
And
Thank
see,
you. Yeah.
even I would say there is a mood behind this. Why you want to kind of spend some time in joking with your friend? Because you want to have a good mood so that you can also practice Krishna consciousness. Because we are in this material world, sometimes you need this kind of acquaintance until you come to the point of bhava or prema bhakti. Sometimes it is a kind of part of life. But again, it should not be the main part of our life as a devotee. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Prabhuji. Lovely. Yes, lovely explanation. Yes.
Otherwise, what happens is you are going to go extreme. See, the problem is, like for example, today we will see this, we are practicing sadhana bhakti. Okay, it's coming. We will see this niyamagraha. Let us see this, then I'll talk to you about that. Niyamagraha.
Okay,
this word niyamagraha can be broken in two ways. Niyama plus agraha. That means too much attachment in following rules. And then niyama agraha, failure to accept the rules. So Prabhupada explains this niyama agraha, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. In other words, we can say there are certain spiritual rules, scriptural rules and regulations practiced by some karmi with a desire to be promoted to the heavenly planets. Or sometimes some other people, they undertake some spiritual, scriptural rules and regulations with a desire to stabilize their financial condition. These are not, they're following, niyama, they're very eagerly following the rules and regulations. This is contrary to Krishna consciousness. That's why the niyama agraha is not good. Another is agraha. Agraha means failure to accept. Prabhupada explains, rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. No, that is also not good. Okay? So in either way, niyama agraha and agraha both are type of diseases. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying, Prabhupada is not too much attached or he is not neglecting. He has done some adjustments in our society. Like yesterday we are discussing is time, place and circumstance. You see what adjustment Prabhupada has made. He is not adjusting certain principles just to get deviated in from Krishna consciousness. Nowadays, there are certain practices undertaken by certain ISKCON individuals which are actually taking people away from Krishna consciousness. Now let us see what adjustment Prabhupada meant, then I will speak more about it. Srila Prabhupada, even though Shastra says a sannyasi should not go across the ocean, but Prabhupada, he came to this part of the world, right? He allowed the brahmacharinis to live in the ashram. That's how he became successful. When his god brothers criticized him, saying that, oh, you have allowed Mataji, the ladies, to stay in the ashram. The Prabhu said, that's why I become successful in my mission, preaching mission. Okay. As a sannyasi, he also conducted marriage ceremony, sanskara, for his disciples. So these things he has done, these are to help his disciples to practice sadhana bhakti. Now, the point is, if at all some devotees feel like adjusting certain principles, what is the kind of, what one should understand behind? What is the purpose behind adjusting these principles? Okay.
Preaching.
Okay, preaching. Preaching what? What is the goal?
Preaching Krishna consciousness, make the people Krishna conscious. People should understand we are not the body, we are the soul, so we have
very
connection.
General answers to develop sattva-gun.
Not sattva-gun, like being more Krishna conscious, like we are related with Krishna, so our all
Whatever we are
should be related
doing,
with Krishna.
whatever we are doing in our life, that is meant for what? To always
enjoy for Krishna.
Okay.
Enjoy for Krishna.
Prabhuji, for always remembering Krishna.
Okay, that means, let us say like this, whatever activity we are involved in or adjustment we are making, that should provide us a comfortable environment to practice our sadhana bhakti. Are you getting me? Whatever you are doing, if that is not helping you a conducive situation to practice sadhana bhakti, then all your endeavor to adjust the principles are useless. Now again, people who are also adjusting the practice of sadhana bhakti, thinking I am doing sadhana bhakti, what is the goal? What is the purpose behind making such adjustment? So that you know that this adjustment is wrong. What is the yardstick? What is the yardstick? That what kind of practice, sadhana practice, what is the purpose behind sadhana practice? That you know that this sadhana practice which is told to me is not actually helping me. I should not go in that way. You understand what I am asking? There are certain adjustments are being made to our sadhana practice, and people are thinking this is sadhana, this is okay, this is preaching in Krishna consciousness. So as a sadhaka, you should understand this niyama graha, whether you are actually being attached to the principles and it is not serving the purpose or not. So even in sadhana bhakti practice also, there are, what is the clue, what is the yardstick? That you should know that this is actually what I'm supposed to do. I'm going on the right direction. In Nectar of Devotion it is explained, sadhana bhakti is meant, that is called sadhana bhakti, which is going to produce bhava bhakti. So sometimes so-called practitioners, they also dare to bring some adjustment to the principles of sadhana bhakti in the name of preaching Krishna consciousness. And if such kind of dilutions are not helping one to come to the level of bhava bhakti, then that should be discarded. That should not be accepted as a preaching or following of sadhana bhakti. You understand?
Kind of.
Then that is becoming niyamagraha. Yes, you are just simply following some rules of regulations. You are saying you are preaching Krishna consciousness. Why you should preach Krishna consciousness? To help people practice sadhana bhakti. Why should people practice sadhana bhakti? That should lead to bhava bhakti. That means everything has to be in accordance with the recommendation of the acharyas. Otherwise, it is going to become in the category of niyamagraha. Sadhus, you understanding, online students?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Therefore, it says, Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sa sadhana vidha nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam hidi sadhyata. So this is how we should understand that adjustment is being made by certain individuals, whether that is bona fide or not. Therefore, we should understand scripture very nicely. Okay. Anyway, this is. Would you like to reflect on the attitudes and behavior advocated in the Nectar of Instruction text number 2 in relation to your own devotional service and identify which points you need to improve on the most? Like so far we have discussed this Atyahara, Prayasa, Prajalpa, Niyamagra. Okay. 2 more things are still remaining. We'll discuss that. But till now, whatever we have discussed, which point you need to improve on the most? Yes?
So would you please give a correct example of
Niyama, agraha. Agraha. As I said, sometimes some devotee may be following rules and regulations just to strengthen their economic condition. That is called niyama. To gain something on the material platform, they are practicing the rules and regulations. That is called niyamagraha. Okay? So now you tell me, which point you need to improve on the most?
I think I want to improve on
Atyahara.
I think that.
What you will do there? How you will do that?
How I do that? I think I will just. I will only one plate of prashad and I'll go for seconds.
No.
Or I will open the time limit. I will spend 30 minutes in the prashad. After that, I must go for service. Spend too much time. So otherwise, I'll go to overeating or junk.
Okay, good. Thank you. But eat as much as your body needs. Don't reduce. Okay? Any comment from the online students? No comments.
Yeah, just questions.
What is that? What is that? Tell me.
What question? Collecting money, eating much food, and collecting things. Oh, knowledge, right? Yeah, money and things is.
Okay.
Right.
Then.
Okay.
discussed already. Okay. Yeah.
What is the fine line like between, like, we need to know things that are going on like in this world. Like we know that Prabhupada, he was also reading, he was studying the news. Basically, I read one of his first practical magazines. They were like, his preaching was heavily based on the fine line between like doing that as necessary and like how to basically control the mind of not to get too excited for it, because like nowadays you can see the news, they just become like fascinating, like they're just engaging too much, giving the mind like this click, the mind just is like wow, more. So what
I would say those who are in the administrative position, who have responsibility to deal with the media services, and they are doing some outreach program. For them, maybe it is necessary to know what is going on in the world, so they can spend little time to understand, have a glimpse of what is going on, but not that they are being captivated by the glamour of the news which is appearing on day-to-day basis. Because they sometimes have the information and they can use it in preaching. That's okay. But what to do with a brahmachari who doesn't get involved with such kind of preaching engagements, and he is spending hours together to listen to this news? It's not equal for him. He doesn't have to. So it's up to kind of see whether it is my service. Reading newspaper is also a service. He is using it in preaching. But if one is not involved in such kind of services, but still taking time to read all these nonsense news, that is prajalpa. Sometimes some temple, there are some newspaper also they purchase. Who is reading those newspapers? Some top leaders, they only read. Not that every is available for every brahmachari, every temple residence.
What I remember, we were just about to leave Mara. We were already leaving with and I met Ganga Prabhu and Goranga Singh Prabhu. They said, "Where are you going?" We said, "We're just leaving for Kolkata and then to Europe." Today, are you crazy? There is a huge communistic strike in Kolkata. They are fighting, they are killing people. We have to do it like we have a taxi. If you go with the taxi, they'll stop your car, they will break the car, you everybody. They said, maybe you have a chance to go by train, but you have to cross with the boat Ganga, and now the boats are also not working. So, but I'm just giving it as an example that they knew what's going on. They were completely ignorant. So the managers, they need to know. They should know what's going on in the metro.
But it is again in that sense, okay. So Janasangha, to give up the association of pure devotees and keep company with others. That means associating with persons not interested in Krishna consciousness. Janasangha. So this Janasangha can do two things. The association can bind one to this material world, or it can also liberate one. When we associate with people who are not devotees of Krishna, in their association, we will be bound in this world. And on the other hand, those who have unauthorized association with women, involved in illicit relation with the ladies, then that kind of association is clearing their path to hell. So this is one type of Janasangha. But there are others like who are associating with the pure devotee of the Lord, then that gives liberation. But in this connection, we are advised to give up the association of worldly minded people and don't unnecessarily get closer to the opposite sex. So that is a warning given to us in this connection. Laulya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, can you read somebody?
Here or just from the
No, from this slide.
Lowly means both unsteadiness and greediness. In the first sense, it refers to the fickleness of the mind to accept many different kinds of false doctrines or certain conclusions. In the second sense, it refers to attachment for worthless material sense enjoyment. By Prajalpa, one indulges in criticizing sadhus, and by Lowliya, one awakens a taste for temporary and certain conclusions. Both of these lead to Namapara, it's in the veins are Namapara. Therefore, one should very carefully give them up.
Laulya means two things, unsteadiness and greediness. This unsteadiness comes when one accepts different kinds of false doctrines or uncertain conclusion. Means sometimes taking the path of karma, sometimes taking the path of jnana, yoga, sometimes also bhakti. Okay, not sure. So this kind of, uncertain things, that is not helping one to become Krishna conscious, that unsteadiness. This is also coming in the category of love. This is explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Okay. And greediness, the second sense, it refers to attachment for worthless material sense enjoyment, that is bhova. Okay. Bhukti kami, mukti kami, siddhi kamis, they are all coming in this category. Very interesting point. Last point he is commenting about Prajalpa and Laulya, that both of these lead to Nama Parad. Therefore, one should very carefully give them up. Now, you understand the severity of these diseases, these 6 faults, especially this Laulyam and Prajalpa, are very, very detrimental. They can lead to Nama Parad. Okay? Therefore, one should very carefully give them up. Yes, Tulsi Prabhu.
I wanted to ask in regard to Jnana, explaining that rules and regulations to some extent can be changed, but we should always stay focused on the idea that they should help us to advance from sadhana to bhava.
No, I didn't say can be changed. I said some people are changing it. And they are claiming that we are changing it because we are preaching, we are doing devotional service. But now you have to see that kind of changes when followed, whether it is helping one to come to the platform of Bhava Bhakti or not. They may make their own kind of hallucinatory idea and give you a very clouded understanding about how it is leading, but as a sadhaka, one has to understand from their experience, what is my consciousness when I am adapting those kind of adjustments while practicing sadhana bhakti, while preaching sadhana bhakti. If he is thinking that his consciousness is getting purer and purer, and he is kind of progressing, he's getting a better footing in Krishna consciousness, okay. But many times you see those kind of adjustments are polluting our consciousness. Our is watering down our practice in Krishna consciousness. It is not helping us to intensify our sadhana practices. Then how can it help one to attain bhava bhakti? See, these inner subtle principle differences, many people they don't realize. That's why they feel everything is any adjustment, any kind of adjustment is okay. We are preaching Krishna consciousness. What preaching are you doing?
Could you give some examples? Understanding.
Just try to understand that whatever have been given to us by our acharyas, the way traditional Vaishnavas have been practicing, if we are deviating from there an inch, that is not helping the sadhaka to come to the platform of bhava. That is what I am trying to make. Now you can understand. I don't have to give you a full explanation. So many adjustments are being made, deviating from the core teachings of our acharyas nowadays in the name of preaching Krishna consciousness.
Is it like Prabhuji Mahajana Gatasya Pantha?
Yes.
I cannot create anything.
No.
I should follow the Mahajan.
You are not allowed to.
That's all. Okay, yeah, that's the conclusion.
Yes. In the street?
I think it's
The returning? Huh?
Unless this is Mahavishnu Maharaj.
Oh,
Mahavishnu Maharaj is here now?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sounds like that.
Yes, tell me. I want to say something.
yeah, I was
Huh?
I wanted to ask about. I think it had to do with. I want to ask for this case of how we get rid of this. And you said that become more introspective and whether or not these changes are improving our Well, I was thinking that I feel like I have been making my mind has been deviating, and I think what to do. I think if the program is not so tight, that I feel like the program and I'm a manasanyuka. I think I'm being a manasanyuka.
Mano?
A follow of my mind.
Okay.
That I am spacing out and deviating. What to do?
You have to always stay in connection with a senior devotee who is sincerely following sadhana bhakti. Take guidance from him. That is safe and secure. Otherwise, as you said, you are listening too much to your mind. That's why at a time you losing the focus, right? So to stay focused, you need to be in connection with someone who is sincerely practicing. You need to identify such sadhaka, and from time to time, and if not, take guidance. Very simple. Okay. So now, we are going to conclude this session for today. Explained in this lesson 2, we explained onwards the 6 favorable activities, 6 unfavorable activities or attitudes that are listed in text number 2. Discuss the analogy examples. Then discuss Prabhupada's mood in adjusting religious principles in relation to Niyamagraha. Okay. Discuss the plan for applying points particularly relevant for our developed devotional service in relation to the behavior advocated in text number 2.
Prabhuji, I know you doing the conclusion, but I still have little bit confusion on. It looks both of these Niyamagraha, right? One is Niyamagraha eagerness to accept, another one is failed to accept. So how is it a pronunciation difference or how we differentiate?
Niyama agraha, niyama agraha. 2 different ways. When you break the compound word, the sandhi is there. If you break the sandhi, then there will be 2 ways to write it. Niyama agraha means too much eagerness to follow the rules. Why? Not for the sake of advancing in Krishna consciousness, but for some other things. As I said, sometimes people, they want to accumulate wealth, want to get some recognition. That's why they are doing. Yeah, go to.
But the spelling are same.
No,
spelling are same.
That is niyama agraha. They are eagerly following. Why they are eagerly following? There is some ulterior motive, not to progress in Krishna consciousness. That should be given up.
Okay. Okay.
So I wanted to wonder.
Thank you.
What were the cures and what were the solutions mentioned for Janasangha and Lauryam? What were they? I think that if you could speak them, I may have gone over my head.
What you should do, right?
Yeah, what to do.
For Prabhupada is saying for Janasangha, like you see, we have created this ISKCON organization and we have got different preaching program. So when people come and attach to us, they will be freed from Janasangha. You are already in the good association. You are already living in the temple. So as long as you don't decide to just go out and space around, because this is a, there's ample of facility here. You just come down from the building, you are in the middle of whatever you want to do. So now you are here, Prabhupada is saying we are creating this temple, we are having this preaching program. Why? Because to help people to become, to save them from this Janasangha. Okay? So you are here, you don't have to worry about anything. As long as you are following the regular sadhana practice, doing service in the temple. And in terms of Laulya, you are not practicing this, karma, jnana, yoga, or any kind of, other doctrines. You are not aviated. So you are saved. Or greediness is also not there. That's why if you are keeping close company with senior Vaishnavas, that will safeguard you. Vandana Sangha and Laulya.
So when preaching to new people, then how to avoid the drama?
When you're preaching, how are you doing Prajalpa?
Like when the Tuesday Lotus Room program, people will come sit with them, associate with them, different association. But then the tendency is it's more or less their the attitude is that we try to become their friend, their spiritual friend. America, it's difficult for people.
No, that's okay. I got it.
So then,
what do you mean by spiritual friend?
So as in they'll speak. When we first sit with them, we'll be talking a lot, and they'll about topics not involved in Krishna consciousness.
There'll be some topics connected to Krishna consciousness, but there's also additional topics.
I got it. That's what I'm saying. Definitely, you are not spending time with a businessman to discuss further about how he is going to become successful in business. Or you are not spending whole time to give or learn some techniques how to invest money in stock market. You are not doing that. You are starting a discussion which is eventually going to open the gate for speaking about Krishna. That is okay. This is for the sake of preaching what you are doing. These are not very complicated things. It's okay. One devotee came to Mayapur. One fine morning in Mangalarti time, he's coming with pant and shirt and coat. He is a very elderly devotee in his camp and saying, I want to lead Mangalarti. We stopped him in Mayapur. We should get out from here. You tell me what is the need for him to come with pant and shirt and lead Mangalarti Kirtan in Mayapur?
Prove a point.
Huh?
Prove some point.
He wants to prove some point. So exactly, this is the point. This is all kind of rude things. These are totally kind of out of context. He's making some adjustment here. What adjustment? What are you making here? Is it necessary for in Mayapur you need to do that?
I think he's not doing it.
Not anymore. Huh?
No, he says, when in Rome, do it. When in India, do like Indians.
I know that, dude. So I was telling that kind of adjustment people make in sadhana practice. How is it helping you to kind of attend Bhav? Mayapur is supposed to be a nice, Vaishnava attire. Everybody is coming at morning time, chanting nice. This is a very kind of traditional way of practicing going on for ages, and Vaishnavas are becoming successful walking on that path. Why all of a sudden you need to start something strange? Ridiculous thing. Oh, we are doing also kind of preaching. We are preaching here. You are preaching to Radha Madhav. What are you going to do here?
The other thing is like, the other way it's not in the etiquette to put yourself forward or ask to meet, right? It's like not in the Vaishnava way to do, like, let me do it. You're asked, you're not asked, you don't ask like yourself.
No, we want to start a new revolution, and we want to ensure that everybody should listen to us. Even if the traditional program is getting disturbed, still we want to establish that we are a new group of people. We understand these principles better. What we are doing is actually, serving the higher purpose of Krishna consciousness. That's totally wrong mood. Attitude. We are discussing in the first class. Attitude of a person. What is this attitude? Is it helping him to go to attain Bhava Bhakti with that attitude by disturbing the whole community? you adopt some practice which is disturbing the whole community, Vaishnava community, and you think that attitude is kind of good? That adjustment is kind of good? That is not. This part of the world, many people don't know.
Yeah, in that way, some people thinking like I'm doing something like different way. So which they actually not following the rules.
That is what I said. I gave that's why I gave the kind of what do you say, the yardstick. That is it helping us to march towards Bhava Bhakti? If it is creating a kind of terror in the Vaishnava community, disturbance, how it is helping one to grow towards Bhava? You may make your own philosophy. You can juggle the words and create your own philosophy, but that is not the reality of Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Prabhuji, just a second. 1 second. I'm having some problem. Like we had problem in our country. I'm from Bangladesh recently. And then some of the leader in New York, they are telling ISKCON is a big, huge. So if they just stand up, everything will change. So they're asking me. So I said, ISKCON. Whatever philosophy you have, that might change every single time, but ISKCON stay in the same philosophy what Prabhupada given us. So the things outside people sometimes think, let's change and take a guard and do something. And it will change everything. We can protest because we have a big group. So that actually happen. Sometimes people want to think changing something.
Okay.
Yeah, so it
Read this concluding quote for today.
If one fails to give up the six faults, then the power of understand that Krishna Bhakti, Vistu, the highest goal for all living entities, will be lost.
Commentary Anapada Samhita by Bhakti Siddhanta. Tulsi Prabhu is here. Right?
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. His Grace Padmanayana Prabhu ki jai.
Jai Upadeshamrita ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Vancha Kalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu
Bhesha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam
Pavane
Krishna
Vishnu.
Vishnu.
Meeting. Should end the meeting.
Okay. End the meeting?
I think we are on the...
Okay.